Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks, his website rickackerman.com. He's speaking to us from South Florida. Rick, welcome back to the show.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me, Jim. And I am, by the way, in Asheville, North Carolina, but I'm bound for Florida shortly.
Well, you're on the U.S. East Coast then.
Right. This is a big road trip, and I was as far north as New Hampshire.
And you've had nothing but rain, whereas here in southern British Columbia, sunny skies, very warm temperatures to start off the month. Maybe we need to swap.
Yeah, this country, it's not even, it's just we get all the water where nobody needs it, and we get no water where it's desperately needed. We should be able to, you just wish we could work out an exchange, because North Carolina could be a big net contributor to the rain shortfall.
The markets on Monday, we saw panic selling, and are people split? Are we going to have a continuous bull market for the next 10 years, or is it topping out now and it's time to take cover?
Well, you got to give them their due. They got unpanicked in a hurry. Yesterday everybody was freaked because we were prospectively looking at lockdown 2.0 or 3.0 or however you call it. But with this Delta variant just causing all the scaremongering to rise up again like a tsunami, the market was just kind of feeling it. And when you went to bed last night, you're thinking, geez, there's fear and loathing out there. And this morning it was all gone. The Dow's up 550 points, and I'm not going to say it's all forgotten. I think that the market still has to work this embolism through its system with the Delta variant. But because the psychosis has been driving the market all along, there's no reason to think that it's going to pause much just because Delta variant is going to maybe kill off half the population of the world.
How do you figure that into the markets?
Well, it's such a tough calculation that I decided to simply watch my charts. When I tried to handicap the whole thing about, well, if we have a lockdown, is it going to affect business as much, and have enough businesses already bit the dust that the attrition has been so huge already that there are not as many of them left to kill off. But when I look around and I see the restaurants and hotels, the things that somehow managed to survive, I do cross my fingers and hope that it goes better for them this next time around with Delta, because it's been quite a trek getting across the valley for certainly the movie chains and a lot of restaurants. And of course, no matter where you live, you get a sense of how many restaurants shut down. So where the market's concerned, I'm really just going to follow the charts because it's too complicated to think through.
What do the charts tell you about the U.S. dollar?
Well, I've been a dollar bull forever, and I think the rally's great, but I have to question its sticking power. The market, the dollar, has been higher since January, but not really going anywhere. We're sort of toward the top end of the rally range in the dollar. We started just below 90 in January, and we've been up as high as almost 94. So we're about 93 right now. So we're really at the top end of what would be called the recovery range. But the dollar doesn't seem like it's in any great hurry to take off. And my bullish dollar outlook is based more on the big enchilada. I'm not looking at it in terms of the immediate inflation, deflation picture, but based on the big one, the big deflation that's going to wipe so many zeros off the global asset, off the global ledger, that all of the monetization attempts are not going to be able to counteract it. So that's where I see dollar strength, is in kind of a precipitous in-game event. But for now, I think the dollar is rightly in a struggle just to maintain loft, and I don't see much of a rally here.
What's going on with crude?
Crude's always been a mystery to me. On the one hand, I know that that's they with a capital T, the nefarious conspirers, had to keep the price of oil up simply because so much of the hyper leveraging that's taken place in financial markets occurred off energy related assets. So if we can't keep crude up, we're really going to see deflation in a catastrophic way. And you can see that whenever crude is up, the market's up. And whenever crude's down, the market's down. The market, stock market investors, they can't deal with weak crude prices, because it basically connotes that deflation is, if not getting the upper hand, it's somewhat encroaching. So crude's come down pretty hard, but since there was never really a good supply and demand reason for it to rally up as high as it did, there's nothing really constraining it from getting back there, from recovering up to, I think the high basis, the NYMEX contract, was somewhere around $77 a barrel. So we're currently $10 below that, and I'm going to watch this rally, and I'd like to short it at some point, but I would be tempted to take my profits rather than say this is the big one that's going to take crude down to $6 a barrel. Or wherever. I know you talk to a lot of honchos out there, forecasters, and some of them are wildly bearish on crude. And I'm not saying they're not going to be right, but I'm suspicious of this rally in crude right now.
OPEC reluctantly saying it's going to increase production. Is that going to have much of an impact?
I don't think so. They're good for an hour or two of frenzied trading, but there's so many, as we've seen, it doesn't appear to be immediate forces of supply and demand that drive crude. It's something, I guess, that's more bound up with the idea that the world is headed into some kind of inflationary spiral, and better to have a claim on energy assets in the ground than in some will-o'-the-wisp company that makes a lot of vaporware. So crude has certainly benefited from that, and I don't see it collapsing anytime soon.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, Recycling Trade Publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. Rick, what's going on with precious metals?
Well, I have to say that gold is so dismal and disappointing that I'm going to say I'm getting a little more bullish on it. In my newsletter, I kind of jumped the gun from a while back, and I said, "Hey, green light, everybody, go ahead and buy it." But that was a bit premature, and we got up a bit above 1900, came down pretty hard in June, but the sellers kind of run out of steam too. And you got to assume that gold, it's not going to get crushed as some people seem to think. It's just kind of biding its time, waiting for a better environment. Right now, though, the speculative activity is bleeding off mostly into Bitcoin still, and other things. Gold just has not caught the popular fancy.
Does it look like legalized federal marijuana is dead in the U.S.?
I don't follow that anymore because there's conflicts in all 50 states, and it's really just such a mess. Back many years ago, this would have been in the early 1960s, Lenny Bruce, the comedian, always used to say that marijuana would definitely be legalized because all the lawyers that he knew were smoking dope back then, smoking weed, and they would eventually become congressmen, and that's how it would become legalized. But if he could, I don't think he could have imagined that 60 years later that we would still have this ridiculous quilt work of legislation. In Florida, where I live, they make it very difficult to get marijuana. It's strictly for medical reasons, and of course Colorado just the opposite. It's recreational, and even if you're in Boulder for a visit, you can score a little bit of dope. And certainly we've got a flourishing black market across the country, regardless of what the federal rules are. But it would be nice if they could all get their act together so that when people take it on airplanes and things like that are under federal jurisdiction, that they're not risking some sort of horrendous penalty. So the marijuana issue, legal or not, it's going to be with us for quite a while. But there's still a lot of opposition to it in a bunch of states.
I wonder, is marijuana illegal in states where they have privately run prisons, and those prisons wouldn't have people in them if pot was legal?
That's kind of circuitous there. You have to pile a lot of things one on top of the other to make that argument. I don't know. The states seem that there's a compelling revenue source there, and of course the states all go for that, and it's almost like it is a sin tax. People want to smoke dope, fine, we'll tax them to death on it. Of course, the risk there for the state is that you get the prices so high that it's very easy for huge supplies of contraband marijuana, gray market and black market marijuana to make its way into the supply chain. So I don't know. I think the revenue argument will eventually win out, as it did with lotteries. So that's what I expect.
Bitcoin is struggling right now. Could we see the demise of this, or is it going to pick up?
Now, it'll pick up, although I think there's a reasonable case that the kind of Bitcoin we have right now is not going to be the one that eventually becomes more fungible as currency. It's Bitcoin on a chart looks like it's about to revisit. I've been predicting sub 30 levels for a while, where I saw a consolidation, but there is this massive head and shoulders that easily takes Bitcoin down to 20,000. So it's been only grudgingly giving up ground from day to day. It's not like there have been any punitive sell-offs in Bitcoin in a month, but I don't think it's going to snap back. And the next big, huge monster rally in Bitcoin, it's not coming tomorrow. There's real supply there this time, and each time Bitcoin has come off some ridiculous low, when it gets up there, and the last high was over 60,000, a lot of people were trapped up there. You know, there was so much buying when Bitcoin in February, March, April made its way up above 60,000. It's not like they're all in at $100, and they don't really care where it goes. Now you got a lot of people who care, and they're in at such high prices that they're basically thinking, praying, Lord, please just get it back up to 40,000, and I'll never do it again. I'll get out of it. So you have real supply hanging over the market from the last run up. So that's why it may have to come down further and really get kind of oversold and depressed and get to that psychological stage where everybody says, geez, Bitcoin sucks, and then it can take off again.
Rick, anything else we should be keeping an eye on right now?
That's about it. I think, I'm always proselytizing about the barbell, gold versus bonds, because nobody really wants either. Although bonds, they've kind of wanted them since May. With bonds, I'd be careful up here, because I do have a target in the September T-bond futures at 167.18. And that compares with a recent high, about a half a point off that at 167 and 4/32. So we've topped maybe, or if not, we seem pretty close to it. If the bonds kind of blow through that 167 price, then it would be compelling as to a bullish case longer term. But the big rally that we've had since mid-May or so, may have run its course. Well, with today's spike high, you had a high in C-bond futures up at 167 and 4/32, as I just mentioned, and that's less than half a point from a target that I've been using that seemed like it was going to take longer to get to. So anyway, if you like bonds and profited from them since the springtime, this is a good time to ease out of some of it.
Rick, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Well, again, always a pleasure, Jim. I'm grateful for the chance to connect with your audience.
My guest has been Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks, his website, rickackerman.com. If you have any questions for Rick, we'll ask them on your behalf if you send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.